Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are starting today Mishna Yishkolim, New Masechta, Perikav, Chapter 1, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Okay, so quick introduction. At the times of the Beis HaMikdash, all Jewish men were obligated to contribute a half shekel yearly to pay for the communal offerings. There were offerings that were brought on behalf of the entire Jewish people, like the Karban Tamid, the daily sacrifice brought every morning and afternoon. You had the Musaf offerings on Shabbos. You had Rosh Chodesh offerings, Musaf offerings on Shabbos and Yontif. These were communal sacrifices, and therefore it was the community's obligation to pay for them. And the way they were paid for was that everybody contributed a certain amount of money towards that, and those monies were then collected into a chamber, and periodically the monies were taken out from that chamber to use to actually buy the sacrifices. So there's a mitzvah to give a half shekel every year. Now, what's interesting to note, as pointed out here in the Mishnah, in the Art Scroll Mishnayos, is that the amount that we give is a half shekel, but the Mishnah always refers to it as a shekel. Meaning, the Mishnah always refers to it as a shekel, which means the whole shekel, but it really wasn't the whole shekel; it was a half a shekel. And the word that's used for a whole shekel is a selah. Okay, so you're going to see the word shkolim or shekel being used very often, and easily we're just going to refer to it as shkolim, but it really means a half a shekel. So be'echad ba'adar, on the first day of the month of Adar, mashmin ala shkolim, they announce regarding shkolim, balakalayim, and regarding forbidden growth mixtures. So two things. The first thing is that on the first day of Adar, there was announcements made about the shkolim. It was the Bezdin Hagadol, it was the Sanhedrin's obligation to take care of lots of things for the Jewish people. And one of the things is that they would make sure to send out messengers throughout all the communities in Israel to remind them that you have to make sure you give your half shekel. And the deadline for that was Rosh Chodesh Nisan, because we learned from verses in the Torah that starting from Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the communal sacrifices have to come from the new monies that were donated towards the new year. So it was that you had to donate by Nisan for the next year's sacrifices, which that year for that started and the Rosh Chodesh Nisan. It's important to know that although we always look at Rosh Hashanah, we call Rosh Hashanah the beginning of the year, the Torah says the beginning of the year is Nisan. So that's how the Torah always counts the beginning of the year. So the beginning of the year is the month of Nisan. The beginning of the year is when we have to start bringing the communal sacrifices from the donations given for that coming year. And therefore, a month beforehand, right? Month beforehand is a proper time to getting ready, as we find that number very often in many cases. That is when the announcements were made to remind people about donating the shkol, about donating the half shekel. The other announcement that went down on the 1st of Adar was regarding kilayim. Kilayim is a Torah prohibition to grow certain types, to grow different plants, to grow different things together. So, for instance, again, there are Torah laws regarding this, rabbinic laws regarding this. But according to Torah law, for instance, you cannot plant in the same field wheat and barley. Can't do that. Wheat and barley you can't do in the same field. Okay, so what do you got to do? If you did plant it, which you shouldn't have, or somehow or another you didn't plant it, but they were growing, you're not allowed to leave it growing. You got to uproot it. You got to pull out. Just make sure. You have to reduce the amount of the foreign plants to less than 1/24 of the total growth of the field. So, for example, if barley shoots are growing in a wheat field, the farmer must uproot enough of the barley plants so that what remains of them is less than 1/24 of the total crop. So this announcement was made to people a month in the beginning of Adar. Why the beginning of? So they used to announce people. They used to tell people, you got to clean this up. You got to uproot the foreign plant. So they say that this announcement was made on the 1st of Adar because that is when the grain typically begins to grow large enough to notice difference between species. It becomes apparent which are the foreign growths in the field. This is the point of time where things are already growing to a point you can tell, what's what. And therefore, once it becomes recognizable that there's stuff here that's not supposed to be here, that is ready when we start telling people, get your act together and start and get rid of that foreign plant. Okay, so that's the first of Adar. That's what we do on the first of Adar. The Chamisha Sarabai on the 15th of Adar. What do we do on the 15th of Adar?
Well, Shushan Purim.
Shushan Purim. Karanas Megillah Bekrachen. We read the Megillah in walled cities. Any city is walled from the times of the conquest of Yeshua of the land of Israel. Any walled city from then celebrates Purim, reads the Megillah on the 15th of Adar. Everywhere else, it's the 14th of Adar. So B'chamisha Sarboy on the 15th, Karanas Megillah Bekrachen. We read the Megillah in the walled cities. And now, again, continuing with the Bezdin's responsibilities towards the Jewish people and the people that they hire or assign as agents to take care of that. And they fix the roads. That's a rechayves. Rechayves they translate as the marketplaces. That's mikvahs hamayim and the gatherings of water, the mikvahs of water. And they do all the public needs. Okay, so what's going on here? Right now, from the 15th, 15th of Adar already is the point of time where the rainy season is over. And now you got to get ready for the people that are going to be coming to Yerushalayim for Pesach. So during the rainy season, the roads got washed out. The marketplaces they got dirty, they got muddy. The mikvahs hamayim, the gathering, the mikvahs, right? We have mikvahs inside. In the times of the Mishnah, mikvahs were basically holes in the ground, or water gathered in the ground, or water gathered in the caves. This is what people used, especially when they were coming for Yontif to Yerushalayim to purify themselves before Yontif. And again, during the rainy season, it got muddy and it got stuff in there. So all these things had to be fixed up in order that it should be ready for when the people come for Yontif. So already on the 15th of Adar, that is when they started sending out people to fix the roads because of the mud, to fix the roads that either got, how do they say it here? To repair the roads from damage resulting from the winter rains. The mikvahs had to be cleaned out because of the mud that got into them. The aisin called tzarchei harabim, and they attend to all the needs of the public. Now, what are we referring to here as needs of the public? So needs of the public are the following. They bring down here the following: judging monetary and capital cases, dealing with certain vows made to the temple treasury, and preparing the para aduma, the red cow whose ashes were used for purification. Also included is unlocking the water cisterns to make water available to the public during the rainless summer. So this is general public needs that have to be done, not anything specific to Yontif. But the point was, as the year was ending, it's time to finish everything up. Time to take care of everything. Take care of all the judgments that have to be taken care of. Take care of the paradum, especially because people need to purify themselves from any kind of impurity of a dead body so they can bring the carbon Pesach. And also this unlocking the water cisterns to make water available to the public during the rainless summer. All this was done starting from the 15th of Adar. Umetzaines akvaris. That means, and they would also mark the graves, whose markings were washed away in the winter rains. Now, what are these markings? Graves were marked by lime poured out around the area of the graves. This was necessary so that people who needed to be tar, such as Kohanim, could avoid these areas. These lime markings were often washed away by the rain, so they needed to be reapplied to make sure that, again, they know where the graves are. The yaitz and avala kilayim, and they also go out to inspect for kilayim. So in the beginning of the month, we announce, people, get ready, clean up the kilayim. On the 15th, they would send out people to check.
Did you do your job?
And to see if people did it. And if they didn't do it, they'd uproot it themselves. So therefore, that's what it means. And the 15th of Adar, already now, we went also to actually inspect about whether it's the kilayim of the fields, people that actually removed them or not. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, so